Well, good morning to you guys. Thank you for joining us today on our video. We're taking a little bit of a detour today. There is a term that it's becoming more frequent, and the word and the term is burnout. Like I revealed in the previous video, I coach football, and coaching burnout is a real thing. And this is not necessarily to like complain or talk about all the negativity, but I think coaches out there need to understand that this is a real thing. So I hope to provide maybe some tips or things to help with that, because coaching is a calling. It really is. If you're getting into this for the money or for the fame or recognition, all that stuff's going to go away. I've been coaching for, I'm going in my 19th year. 12 of those as a head coach, and I've burned out before. You look at North Carolina where we coach, I probably make 75 cents an hour, if that, coaching. And so it's not about the money. It's about the kids, daily laundry every day. Painting fields. It takes us 3 hours to paint the game field and about an hour to paint the practice field, and we do that every other week. And so you look at the time that you put in, you look at the sacrifice and the hours that you put in. I mean, if you're in coaching, you understand what I'm talking about. JV nights were minimum 16-hour days. Varsity, it's 18-plus hour days. And that's on top of teaching 3 classes a day. So in North Carolina, I teach 3 weightlifting classes. I get 1 planning period, and then I'm practicing or games until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night on game nights. So burnout is real, and if you get wrapped up in the job and the hustle and bustle, and if you don't find margin in your day, you're going to burn out. So it's a real thing. A lot of people are talking about homestead burnout, farming burnout. That's a real thing. It's real easy to get frustrated and overwhelmed, and I apologize, the cicadas are pretty loud this morning. It's easy to get frustrated and overwhelmed when you try to do too much, when you don't have the help. So the key in coaching is you got to have a solid coaching staff. If you have 1 or 2 guys on your coaching staff that have the same mission and vision in mind, where it's more about the kids and a servant heart and a servant leadership attitude, that's going to help you. Delegating is the key, and sometimes you don't want to burn your other coaches out. So there's a fine line between that. And again, I'm not complaining about, coaching and things like that. I chose to get into coaching because I felt like that's where the Lord was leading me. It was the best mission field for me to be able to share the gospel with young men who are going to grow up one day and be husbands and fathers. And I hope that we impart on them not just football knowledge, but heart knowledge, knowing who the Lord is, and preparing them to be a great husband and father beyond football. But it does lead to burnout. I burned out myself a couple years ago. I had to take some time off. I took a year off. My wife came to me and said, hey, it's football or the family, and I choose family. And a lot of times we say, I'm in this for my family, and then we kind of put them on the back burner. Having a supportive wife is tremendous, but it is burnout. So here's a couple of things that I just want to share that I still struggle with and I'm trying to do on a daily basis, but may help some of you coaches out there that are burning out. Farmers, homesteaders, whatever your situation is, even just your job, everybody's going to face burnout. The biggest thing is you got to know your why. And I know that sounds really simple, but if you know why you're doing what you're doing, especially in football, we have big wins, and I still get emails complaining about playing time, position, things like that. You're going to have naysayers in the crowd telling you what to do every single play and doubting you and questioning everything you do. One day I'm like, I'm going to show up at your work, sit in the back, and just yell at you for not doing your job correctly, but we can't do that. So it's hard when you get negativity after you spend all your time and all your hours and all the sacrifice away from your own family, and you still don't feel that people appreciate you. So you got to know your why. You got to have thick skin, and you got to be able to drown out the noise. And that's harder to do than it is to say. Knowing your why, for me, it's about, I don't care about winning football games. You know, I've been to the semifinals, I've been to playoffs, we've had, 12-2 seasons, and I've had all that success, coach of the year, things like that. And really, at the end of the day, that stuff doesn't really matter. What matters to me is when former players come up and say, hey, coach, I'm getting ready to have my first baby. I'd love for you to come to our shower for our baby. Things like that, or inviting you to their wedding, or calling you and saying, hey, coach, I remember when you said this. Now I get it. I'm in the situation. I'm using it as a husband and father as well. So that's really what it's about. Because if we as men of integrity aren't doing it, who's going to do it? Coaches are getting out of the profession. They're getting out left and right because they're finding out that it's so much work, it's so much time, and there's so much criticism and ridicule for everything that you do. It's kind of ruining the profession, and young guys just aren't getting in it because, well, hey, that's too much time for me. I'm not going to sacrifice what I want to do and spend all that time. So you got to know your why. Second thing that I would suggest, you got to find something besides the sport that you're in. It took me a long time to do that, and I'm speaking from experience because I'm still working on that. You've got to have something besides football or whatever sport that you do, or farming or homesteading. You got to take time to disconnect. Get off your phones, get away. If you go fishing, do something, play golf, do something that is not sport or job related. So finding something to do to take your mind off of it. Don't check your emails after, let's say, 7 o'clock at night. Don't do those things. Like, find margin and understand that if parents are emailing you and criticizing you and doing things like that after a certain time, if you start responding, they're going to think that they can continue to do that. So I would just suggest those couple things. Number one, know your why. Find some margin. Find something outside of what your profession is. And, the biggest thing for me is farming is my second thing. Like, we've got chickens. We processed broilers a couple of weeks ago during the summer. We've got 2 pigs, and you can see all those videos that I can link above, or you can check out the rest of our YouTube page. But doing things like this is kind of my outlet. When I leave football and I come home and I go feed the pigs, I'm not thinking about football. Maybe thinking about pigskins with the football, but not with them. So it helps me to get away. Homesteading and farming burnout, that's true too. So you could take some of these tips as well. Our garden did terrible this year. We were very disappointed and frustrated, but we just decided not to get too big. It's easy to get on YouTube and watch everybody else, and you see the good things, like on Facebook. You see the positive stuff. You don't see the negative. You don't see the dirty laundry. You don't see the fussing behind the scenes. You just see this picture perfect video or picture that people want you to see, and that's not reality. And so when we start comparing ourselves to other people, other coaches, other homesteads, other farms, it's going to be really easy to feel like we're not reaching the standards that everybody else is. We must be doing something wrong, so we need to give up. And guys, that's not it. That's not it. Start small, then work your way out. We literally started with a little bitty 6x6 planter raised bed garden that didn't do very good because groundhogs got into it. That was it. Then we got a few chickens, egg layers, and then that grew into more egg layers. Then that grew into, hey, I think we need to try broilers. So we got broilers and raised them for the first time. Now we got pigs. So we're slowly growing in our property. As you can see behind me, that's the mountains of North Carolina. We got a great view, but everything is downhill. And so we're trying to develop our property, and it can be very frustrating to get things started. It costs a lot of money. We built these chicken tractors that I'm sitting around, and everything that we did took time and money, but you do it one step at a time. And for coaching, sometimes you just need to walk away. Like for us in coaching, we don't meet on the weekends. We do a Zoom, we talk, we text. I mean, at this day and age with Huddle and everything else, people can do breakdowns on their own time and still have time with their family. Today, we're going to a baby shower for one of my former players. And I worked on football when I first got up, broke down film from last night's game, texted all the coaches, and then I'm going to walk away from it for the day. I went and fed the pigs, went and fed the chickens, and did those things that my wife normally does when she picks up the slack. So I try to serve her when I'm not at football. You know, we've got 2 kids. They help us on the farm. They help us with the animals. They're a huge support system, and they come to the games. But then when we're done with the game, I really don't want to talk about football a whole lot. I just want to focus on family. And so I know burnout is real. It affects everybody. So again, you're going to face it. You understand you got to have thick skin, especially if you're in coaching and teaching. Know your why. Get some margin. Find some things outside of the teaching, coaching, farming profession. If you're farming, sometimes you just need a break from the farm. Find you a local kid or somebody who can farm sit for you or do the chores for you once in a while, and just go away. Go out to eat. That would be my suggestion too. And a lot of times it's easier said than done, but I'm living through it. I'm in the heat of football season. We also have animals. We've got gardens, but I use that as my release. We're making YouTube videos, and I do everything on my phone. There's nothing fancy. I don't have all this technology. I use iMovie on my phone, and I edit it right straight through there. And if it gets beyond that, then it's going to take up too much time, and that's going to be one more thing that I have to worry about. So I hope this encourages you. Coaches, don't give up. You got a homestead and a farm. Don't give up. You know, you're going to have those rough days where you don't feel like persevering, but figure out what your why is. Why are you doing what you're doing? Keep your family first. Focus on them above all. And let me tell you, a state championship ring is never more important than your wedding ring. If I can share that message with any coach out there, I don't care what your record is. And for me, if I may not win another game. We had a big win last night, and I'm going to be the same person whether I win or lose. And people don't understand that, and that's okay because I know my why. But I'm never going to let a state championship ring chase me away from my wedding ring and my wife and my relationship with my family and my kids. It almost cost me once, and I made a vow to not let that happen again. Finding margin, cutting back on things in practice, making sure you got coaches to help, delegating, things like that will help you a long way. But farming is the same way. You got to have that support system. And if you don't, then you might have to cut back some things. But just don't give up. Coaches, we need you. These young men need husbands and father figures to show them how to be better men. Hopefully you're teaching character, you're teaching culture every day, because the X's and O's are going to go away, and they're going to remember what you've taught them 10, 15 years from now. So if you're thinking of burning out, or you're going through the burnout, guys, I've been there, I've done that. Just hang with it. Take some time away, take a deep breath, go on a walk, get away, but really figure out your why. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know this has been one of those subjects that a lot of people are talking about right now. The homestead and farming community, it's hitting them right now because the load of the work is right now. So you're in the middle of it. Just don't give up. Just know that there's going to come a day where you get a little bit of downtime and you can catch your breath in the winter when the crops are done and the animals have been processed and all that stuff. You're going to get a little bit of time. Just don't give up. Coaches, know that those kids are more important than any other criticism you're going to get. And you may be the only person in their life that loves them that day. So thank you guys for watching the video. I hope it's encouraging to you. Burnout is real, but don't let it beat you. We'll see you on the next video.
That's right. You tell them.